All right, we're in a new venue today.
What's going on, y'all?
Doug Fisher, you got the throwback to the HBO.
Throwback, right?
HBO
Established
boxing.
1973
yeah.
and now defunct as of 2018.
46-year history.
I was there. I wasn't there for the first one. I was alive, the 3-year-old, but I was there for the last show at the Dignity Health Sports Park. Is that what they call it now?
What does Steve Kim call it?
He puts all the words together. I don't know what it is. He mixes Home Depot Center, StubHub, and Dignity Health, and it's hilarious. Shout out to Steve.
And you got the MTV.
The Garcia Boxing. Shout out
Were
to
you
the
at the-
mighty Garcia clan of Salinas,
Were
California.
you at the first HBO After Dark?
I was not. I watched that one.
I was there.
I
I
could've
was
been
at the
there.
forum.
I was there.
That was Kennedy McKinney, right?
1996.
Yeah, what was the date?
I don't know.
You know?
The summer, I think.
Sean?
Maybe spring.
It could have been late 90s. I know who commentated.
Roy
You know
Jones
who commentated?
Jr.
Roy Jones' first time commentating.
Yeah.
And it was February 3rd, 1996.
Oh, it was early. It was
96,
early in
yeah.
'96. Okay.
But Kevin Kelly was there too. He commentated also.
Oh, did he?
Pretty sure
Awesome.
he was. I'm pretty sure he was there as well.
Yeah. We're at Stoner Park, everybody.
Okay, here's
Now, a couple decades ago.
Triple G. It's 2
That's the official Jordan
That's
hoodie.
nice.
I think that's still the most popular item
It
that
fits
was
so
made.
well. It's like custom made.
And those are rare.
It's got special.
They
motion.
unfortunately didn't make enough of those. They sold out in 3 hours.
I believe it. I believe it. You know why? Because Triple G's the real deal. He's genuine. When you watch a Triple G fight, it is special because he always, with his style and his mentality, no matter what, whether he's having a good night or a bad night, whether he's in with an elite fighter or a fringe contender, it's exciting. If he's in with a fringe contender, like say a Brandon Adams or Sulecki,
Willie Monroe.
yeah, or Willie Monroe, like he doesn't.
Willie Monroe beat Brandon Adams.
It's still exciting. Yeah, that's right. Willie Monroe beat Brandon Adams in the junior middleweight Boxino tournament that was on ESPN.
You know what Coach and I found out yesterday? Willie the Worm passed away.
Yeah, much respect for Willie the Worm.
Yeah,
Monroe.
his memorial service was yesterday.
His memorial. So yeah, he died a few days ago. Yeah. And he was a middleweight contender when that really meant something. Middleweight contender in the 70s. He beat Marvin Hagler. I think he's the first guy to beat Marvin Hagler. That's a big deal because Marvin Hagler is an all-time great. And if there were 4 major world titles in the 1970s, Willie the Worm Monroe would have at least been a world title holder.
One of the
Nowadays, we have middleweight title holders like Jamal Charlo, who was upgraded to the WBC middleweight title holder because the WBC, in their infinite wisdom, made Canelo Alvarez the franchise champion, everybody. We have a franchise champion now, which I guess means Canelo is the WBC middleweight champion for life, for what that's worth. And then we have the WBO middleweight title holder, Demetrius Andrade. He outpointed.
They both fought last night.
Majes, how do you pronounce his first name? Majes? Something.
That's a good question.
His Majesty
Sulecki.
Sulecki, the King of Poland. Sulecki was outpointed.
Cinticante is on.
And it wasn't, you know what?
She's watching.
I was underwhelmed.
Said
I was
hello.
underwhelmed by both of those fights. I watched them both. I had the DAZN on my laptop, and I had Showtime on my flat screen. And although I was impressed with the effort of Brandon Adams, I like him a lot. I like watching him fight. I was a bit underwhelmed by Jamal Charlo.
I think, Doug, if you go over just a little bit where Dave's saying
Oh, look at
shadows,
this.
because
We've got
the hat.
Stanley Kubrick over here, everybody.
The hat is, there we go. That's
All
better.
right. How we doing, director?
Good.
Director and producer.
So
Tom
you were
Bobble.
saying how the 2 middleweights that fought yesterday were not as exciting
Listen,
as
I
Triple
consider
G?
I consider them top 5 middleweights. If you go to Ring Magazine's rankings page and click middleweight,
Yeah.
I think you have Canelo as the champion. #1 contender is Triple G. #2, I think, is still Danny Jacobs. I think #3 is Billy Joe Saunders. And then 4 and 5, we have Andrade and Charlo. So they're top 5 dudes.
Saunders moved to 68th.
Oh, maybe Saunders is out of there.
Yeah,
You're
he
right.
could- he
Yeah, who do we
couldn't
have at
make,
#3?
He couldn't make.
Who do we have? Somebody go to ringtv.com and click our ratings page. Go to middleweight. Tell me who we have. I should know who we have at #3 because I'm pretty sure Andrade or maybe. Oh, I think #3 might be Brandon Adams. Not Brandon Adams. It might be Rob Brandt.
Oh,
Might
Brent,
be
yeah,
Rob
he's
Brandt.
he's middleweight. Yeah.
Yeah.
He beat Murata.
When-
And he's going to fight Murata again in July.
Yeah, so
Yeah,
that
mid-July, I think. That'll be fun.
sounds- that is okay.
No, that'll be ESPN.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
saw
he's
the
with Top
advertisement.
Rank.
Rob Brandt is unrated. Maybe Brandt is good enough if he drops back down to 154, he can get ranked in the top 10 at junior middleweight.
He's really good.
He is good. I like him. I think you know what? He was a little bit craftier than I thought he was.
You know, he has some association with UCLA.
Oh.
Dad or something. Did you know that? Something.
You know what? He's a mature guy. I like that. I like his on camera before and after the fight.
And
I
he's
like
good.
his interviews. Yeah, I like listening to him. I listened to an interview that Steve Kim did with him for the 3 Knockdown Rule podcast, and I loved his interview with Jim Gray after the fight. I thought he did a
You know,
great job.
speaking of interviews, Ray Beltran's post
After being stopped by Richard Commey
he
on
got the
Friday.
crap kicked
Yeah.
out of him,
Yeah,
and he has no punch resistance.
he used to.
That was,
now it's gone.
None.
He's long in
and
the tooth.
his interview, you got to look that up. I mean, that if they got the Academy Award-winning actor to do that, they wouldn't be as good as Ray Beltran. This is right after he gets.
I
really
think Ray has
destroyed.
actually learned from Academy Award-winning actors. Probably, has worked the mitts with them at the Wild Card gym.
Yeah, but
You know what I mean? He meets everybody at Wild Card
But-
through his association with Freddie Roach.
But
so.
after you get beat up like that and then come and talk like that,
Yeah.
wow. But he's going to fight again positively.
Oh, absolutely, but it has to be at 140.
So JP,
Sergio Ray Beltran was always a competitive fight.
Yes, yeah, and he was even though he was dropped like 4 times
Yeah.
against Commey, it was a competitive fight.
and I think Commey sucks.
Sloppy, man.
Wow.
Sloppy
He didn't
and
look that good.
yeah, he overdoes it.
But JP made a huge amount of money on that fight, betting it was
What you saying? You said the Charlo fight, right?
on both of them. On the Commey fight, Commey was an 8-1 favorite, but it was only 2-1 if you said he was going to knock Ray Beltran out, which JP won. And then on the other fight, what was the other fight?
So you said the Charlo fight.
On the
going
Charlo
distance,
fight,
yeah.
if you said the fight would go the distance, you got 11-1. And
That's
Doug.
a smart bet, man.
Yeah.
I don't know if I would have picked. I don't know if I would have picked Brandon Adams to go the distance.
A lot of people said that Brandon Adams was in shape. He wasn't
Yes, he
going to
was.
win
He
the
was
fight,
in
but he
great
was in shape and
He had a
ready,
great
ready
camp.
to fight.
Yeah.
So I'd love to see.
I don't think he's ever been stopped before, or maybe if he's been stopped, maybe he's just been stopped once. But yeah, I knew he was durable, but I know Charlo can really punch, And I also know that Charlo is better at middleweight than Brandon Adams. Even though I think Brandon Adams came in a bit heavier than Charlo, I don't think that's a good thing. Putting on that much
Well, I hope
weight
that
after
Triple J
winning.
fights Charlo. That'd be
Would you say, Doug? Would you say Steve Rolls beats Brandon Adams?
I think it's a good fight, and I think I would
Sulecki?
probably favor Steve Rolls just because he's a natural middleweight
he
slash
came
super
to
middleweight.
fight June 8th.
Well, here's the thing.
Undefeated.
When Triple G was talking to Brandon Adams,
Yeah.
or when Brandon Adams was a potential
He
opponent,
was a potential candidate, yeah.
Golovkin got ripped.
We got a lot
he
of
got
grief
ripped on social
because
media.
he lost to William Monroe.
Here's all I know. If Triple G went the distance with Sulecki or Adams, people would say, he's not an elite fighter. Get him out of the pound for pound. He's past his prime and he sucks. Other guys fight these dudes, and these guys are solid. Sulecki is like a lower top 10 contender, okay? If you look at his resume, he's fought really good fighters, and he's beaten good fighters. Brandon Adams is obviously, he's a good practitioner. I mean, he can box, but it lets you know there's a higher bar set for certain fighters. But for some reason, these fighters get ripped. Because I had an email to the mailbag for the Friday mailbag, and somebody was like,
Jay
"How are
Leon
you
Love.
going to defend Vasily Lomachenko fighting Luke Campbell? Luke Campbell is a no-hoper." And I'm like, all you're telling me is that Lomachenko is an elite boxer.
Right.
Like, he is awesome. If you give Luke Campbell no shot, and maybe Luke Campbell has no shot against him, but rather than rip Luke Campbell, why don't you just say Lomachenko is a badass? You know what I mean? Because Luke Campbell can box. He can fight. He is a legitimate lightweight contender.
We were getting the same grief with Triple G when none of the champions wanted
Right.
to fight him.
But he was fighting guys in the top 5.
Right.
And he was an elite. And he still is. He's an elite boxer.
And isn't Luke
But what I do like about Triple G, if he's in with the Steve Rolls, if he's in with somebody who's not in the top 10 of Ring Magazine or ESPN.com or the Transnational Boxing Rankings, he gets rid of him.
Yep.
He gets rid of him, man. He doesn't play with his food. And it's compelling.
Jay Leon Love signed in. He's
Jay Leon Love, what's up?
He's
got a future as a commentator.
He just had a baby boy.
Oh, congratulations. Yeah. And he's got a lot of kids. Yeah, he takes care of a lot of folks. So props to Jay Leon.
Hey, so Luke Campbell is Olympic gold medal winner.
Yes, he's an Olympic gold medalist. And he's a hell of a boxer. And in his 2 losses, he lost by split decision. One to Ivan Mindy, who's like a fringe contender, lower top 10 lightweight, who's European champion. And that night, he fought sick. He fought the wrong fight. And then the other split decision loss was to Jorge Linares, and he gave Linares fits. And Linares was an elite boxer. So the guy can, and he's looked good in his last couple of fights. He's at his peak right now.
What a lot of people don't realize about Jay Leon Love is that he was one of Vladimir Klitschko's sparring partners.
What?
Yeah.
Wow.
Emmanuel would bring in Jay Leon Love
and Tony Harrison.
Tony Harrison.
Yeah, for
who's
speed.
The current champion.
That's smart. Yeah.
A lot of young guys, a lot of speed guys.
Have him move around with the champ,
yep.
the heavyweight champ.
Yep.
Wow.
So
I think Jay Leon Love would be really good as a commentator on some of these broadcasts. I hope maybe Mayweather Promotions puts him on one of these shows, or stream or something. Just try him out and get him experience.
Chris Altieri, I heard him out.
Oh yeah, he's excellent.
That guy is so
very
smart,
good. Yeah.
Crazy.
Did you hear him on a podcast?
Yeah,
He was interviewed. I think was it Chris Mannix?
It was.
It was excellent.
Wow.
I listened to that show. Very good.
Jay Leon said that it's the best experience that he's had. I mean, being in the heavyweight championship training camp, being up there in the Austrian Alps,
yeah,
at the Stangelwort, you learn a lot up there in those type of camps.
That's how the Klitschkos like it. They like training camps
Very
to be
professional,
like,
very
but they like it to be an educational atmosphere because they're like that. I noted that about both Vitaly and Vladimir when they were training in Los Angeles and they were training at the now defunct Los Angeles Boxing Academy. I think it's in the corner of Wilshire and La Brea. Yeah. And the late great Amilcar Brusa trained there, and the late great Don Hamilton would train fighters there.
Right.
And these guys are old professors, and the Klitschko brothers are just students. And when those guys talked, even though they weren't their trainers, they would listen to them when they would speak, and they would observe how Brusa and Hamilton trained their fighters, and they would pick stuff up. They're amazing. Those guys are, I think, they're the 2 best ambassadors for boxing. I think the Klitschko brothers.
Very good. They're both PhDs. Both very
college
smart.
grads, graduates of doctoral programs, handled their money right. They're always been they're philanthropists. They've always been involved in charitable efforts. Their entire career. They speak multiple languages. They're world travelers. Vitaly is the mayor of Kiev.
Involved with charities.
Is it pronounced Kiev or Kiev?
Kiev.
Kiev.
He's the mayor of Kiev.
Yeah, mayor of Kiev, ran for president.
Bernie's on. He asked Coach.
Bernie Sanders or Bernie Barmazel?
Bernie Barmazel.
Okay, because I know Sanders is a fan.
That's right, Colonel Sanders.
Colonel Sanders.
Bernie asked if you bought Chris Algieri's new book.
The cooking book. I bet it's.
I'm going to wait. He's going to come out here and have a book signing. I'm going to buy it there.
Oh, you're going to buy it at the book signing.
But have you bought it, Bernie?
Doug is back on the road.
Yeah, I got to keep the heart rate up.
Hey, so Bernie is Chris's PR guy.
Yeah, he does.
He is.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Hey, Chris.
Also, Bernie's the PR guy for Andrew Cancio.
Yeah, he was out there.
Back-to-back victories over Alberto Machado. What a badass.
Bernie was out there at Cancio's fight. Yeah.
Blue-collar, working man hero.
Yeah.
Andrew Cancio. We're going to have a story on Cancio in the next Ring magazine.
And he has his act together, too.
Doesn't he? Yeah. Hey,
I like that.
there was no doubt in his mind that he was going to beat Machado
Win the
again.
rematch,
And a lot of doubts among boxing fans and media.
Hey, so
At least in the days leading up to that fight.
Speaking of rematches, who do you like the AJ rematch?
I'm riding with AJ.
Yeah, and I am
I'm
too.
riding with Joshua. And if
am.
I was a betting man, I'd put money on it. Because everyone's now saying Joshua's garbage and he's never going to do anything, blah, blah, blah.
No,
Boxing never learns.
No, I like him.
Y'all never learn, never learn.
No, I think it's...
Y'all on the bandwagon, you jump off the bandwagon. No, I never believed in him. He's garbage. And he wins again. Oh, no, I'm back on. It's all good. It's all good. I'm riding with you. Oh, you're garbage. You suck, man. Oh, you're awesome. All-time great. Oh, you suck. Oh, man. Oh. Y'all are back and forth. It happens. People lose. You don't have to overreact. You don't have to overreact. It's traumatizing this young man.
You know, it might be too much for Andrew. Andrew Ruiz, it might be too much going through this whole thing.
A lot of pressure.
What's his motivation going to be to put him through this? I mean, it's like...
He had no pressure on him going into that
Zero.
fight. Yeah. Although everyone who talks to Andy now says, I picked you to win. I put money on it, Andy. Thank you. No. He knows they're full of crap. Andy's like, oh, thanks, man. You know, it's great, though. I love it, though. Yeah, I'm riding with AJ.
Triple G, actually, Andy trained at the Summit for 2
yes,
fights.
Yes, he did.
And one of those, he lost a close decision to Joseph Parker.
Yes.
Who Joseph Parker fought last night, too, against Leopold.
Yeah.
So that's the only fight that Andy ever lost.
Yes. It was close.
And JP
and Abel thought he won that fight.
I thought it was like a draw. I thought it could have gone either way. Yep. It wasn't an unfair decision. It was a close decision, but it was in New Zealand, so obviously.
So JP and I saw Andy Ruiz fight live at a club show in LA.
Wow.
Yeah.
Do you remember what show it was? Like who did it?
Yeah,
Aram.
Top rank. It was at this great venue at the.
Was it one of those shows in Glendale?
No. It was in Sherman Oaks at the
Sportsman Lodge.
Sportsman's Lodge. It was incredible. Another guy.
I haven't been there in like 25 years.
And there were Steve Kim was there, and maybe 100 other people.
Sure.
Nobody was there.
Yeah.
And but the guy, the guy that got knocked out with one punch the other night on the undercard, he's making a local guy. It's all over the internet. It's one point. He fought
Saul, Nano Rodriguez.
Yeah,
Saul
exactly.
Rodriguez got taken out.
So he was on that show too.
Wow.
Huge star, all these people. So I guess he's had some situations going on.
Yeah.
But we saw him that night too.
Yeah.
We're gonna. So we need to cut a little bit short here. Do you want to ask a couple questions?
Yeah,
Dave?
ask me some questions.
Yeah, I got some.
We can move. You guys can move. Okay. Okay.
Okay. I got it.
We're going to show a little background footage here from the skate park.
What's going on, Parker? Nice.
Yeah, first time.
They got a lot going. They have a lot here.
So this park, we know the greatest skateboarder of all time is Jake Hamilton, Dean's son,
Stuntman
Don's
follow him on Instagram.
This kid is unbelievable. If he was here right now, they'd have a crowd with him here. So he's very famous. At 7 years old.
Samir is tuned in live from Kazakhstan.
What's up, Samir?
Now
Samir, here's my
now
challenge to
your
you.
lighting is good,
Samir, I did 20 pull-ups today.
That's right.
Now you got to beat that.
Someone's
I'm
asking.
I'm glad there wasn't a camera on me because they weren't the most macho. They weren't. What's that thing? The fit CrossFit.
Yeah,
they weren't CrossFit pull-ups, but
Caliber.
they were. I feel it.
They asked if you're a better athlete or reporter.
Reporter, definitely, man. Definitely. I did do athletics though. I did do athletics as a child and as a high school.
All right, we're gonna do a few questions.
I got a couple
questions. Then we gotta wrap up. Any upcoming fights? We announced. We're going to announce July 28th is the next Hollywood Fight Night
Excellent.
show. The return of El Flaco.
Wow, you guys are keeping him busy.
Sergey Boichuk will be in his 15th fight. He's 14-0 with 14 knockouts right now. We should have the announcement either tomorrow or Tuesday.
And Tom, this is a guy who turned pro in like the early 2017, right?
That's right.
And since like January of 2017, 15 fights. And he's knocking on the door of contender status.
He's
and he gets better with every fight.
He's getting better. His competition is definitely.
Is it getting harder to find? Is it getting harder to find opponents for
him? This will be a 10-round fight. So
about time.
Isn't that one of your favorite fighters, Coach?
Actually, it's right on time.
I like him.
He's one of my favorites. One of my favorite prospects.
You want to know my very favorite though?
Who's that?
Blair Cobbs.
Blair Cobbs.
Blair Cobbs.
Blair Cobbs with a close second by Chris Ellsbury. Maybe they're tied. But no one even knows who either guy is.
Isn't that
Samir
awesome?
came up with a new Flaco Nation.
Flaco Nation.
Yeah.
I like that.
So I just got to tell, yesterday Tom had a call. It was with a bunch of people that are planning the fight, and they don't realize it, but while Tom was on this call, he's running on the track. It was a last-minute thing, and he's running. They have no clue.
On the conference call.
That's
That's good.
Yeah.
I'm impressed.
All right.
All right, Coach, what you got?
Okay, well, I got a few. Okay, so this was.
This be Wild Doug
This
is
fight
broken.
was June 20th, 1981. It was in London. Okay.
1981.
This guy wins the lightweight title. He's the foreigner. The guy from England is now a TV broadcaster who's really good.
Huh.
You know,
The foreigner won the
yeah.
against in
It was a
1981.
15-round decision. He won the lightweight title. And the guy who won is the all-time great. And he beat this guy from London who's now on TV.
And this is at lightweight. The guy who lost is a TV commentator, but the guy who won is an all-time great. So I'm going to say Alexis Arguello beating Jim Watt.
Jim Watt is the commentator.
Now, how is that?
That's pretty good.
Hey, is that good?
That's pretty good.
That's pretty good.
I almost
Wait.
said. See, I almost said
Bernie had
Hilmer
Arguello, too.
Kenty,
Yeah.
and I was like, wait a minute, that would have been a year earlier.
That was
And
good.
and Kenty's not an all-time great. So I was like,
And who trains him?
Emmanuel Stewart. Yeah, I think Kenty is his first champion. I think Kenty won the
Could've
title
been, yeah.
before Tommy Hearns.
Yeah, he did. That's his first
Okay.
fight.
Hey, you know what I watched on YouTube? I watched a non-title middleweight fight between Tommy Hearns and Doug DeWitt. For no reason,
Doug DeWitt.
I searched Doug DeWitt on YouTube. For no reason. I'm out of my mind. Dougie was good, man.
That goes pretty.
Dougie was good. Oh
pretty
my
deep.
God.
That's pretty deep.
Real strong. But no, he had moves, man. Oh, man. He was getting inside Hearns' jab and the left to the body. And I think he took Hearns the distance. I didn't watch the whole fight. But it was a Showtime broadcast, and it was my two favorite commentators of the 80s. It was Tim Ryan and Gil Clancy. That was my favorite
Gil Clancy was a
boxing
good
commentary
I
duo.
liked him too.
And they were working a Showtime broadcast.
They're saying Jim Watt was Scottish.
Yeah, Jim Watt is
He's-
Scottish.
He's Scottish.
Yeah, but that makes him British. Scotland's part of the British Empire. Oh, did you call him English?
Yeah.
It's not English, but he is British. Yeah.
But he is on English TV,
Yes, he is. You're right.
and he's very good.
Excellent.
Yeah, he's good. And he's tall.
Yes.
Very tall. Okay, I'll give you this one.
How did these guys make weight?
That's pretty good.
Yeah. Same day weight.
Are you proud of yourself?
I am. I had to think about that. I had to work that out in my
That's a
head.
good one. Okay, so here's one. This was in West Jordan, Utah.
Utah.
Okay.
Yeah, West Jordan, Utah.
Okay.
You know who's from there. For sure, you know.
An all-time great.
All-time great. And he won. You'll never get the guy he beat. This was on June 20th, 1956. It was a rematch. I don't even know if you ever heard of the other guy, but who's the guy from West Jordan, Utah?
Gene Fulmer. Yeah. Was this a title defense?
Well, it was a 10-round decision.
Oh, 10. Okay, then it wasn't. The title wasn't on the line. In 1956. Was it a contender? Was he like a?
Yeah, he was a TV fighter. He
was a
fought
TV
a lot.
fighter?
Anyone from that era would know.
Tell
this
me
guy.
about him. Like,
I
what?
don't know
You
anything
know where
about
he
him.
was
I don't-
from?
no.
You just know the name. You remember the name.
I remember the name.
All right.
He was like, he looked like every other tough guy, and he might have been from Philadelphia, but I'm not sure. But
White guy?
no, I don't think so. Gene Fulmer was white.
All right. So the guy Fulmer beat, and it was a rematch.
Yeah.
He might have been black or Latino.
I think he was black, and he was the guy that fought on TV all the time, and
Was he?
I'm
Did he
sorry.
also fight at like welterweight?
probably. He was like, like all those guys fall into one category.
Yeah, they were good.
I'm sorry I brought it
solid.
up because this is impossible. I
right.
should have had
Okay, tell me. I don't know.
Gil Turner.
Gil Turner. I should have guessed that. He was a welterweight. I know who Gil Turner
right.
is. Damn it.
Bernie guessed Moses Ward.
Not bad.
Moses Ward.
Yeah, that was his guess.
Never heard of that.
Never heard. Gil Turner, I've heard of. He
Yeah.
was from Philadelphia.
Yeah.
He got beat up. He got stopped by Kid Gavilan.
Yeah, no, he was good.
Yeah,
Okay, who
he
was
was
the
very
who was
good.
the referee?
No idea. Is he a former fighter?
Yeah,
Was he a former fighter?
yeah. Former heavyweight champ a long time ago.
Was it Jack Dempsey?
No, it was after Jack Dempsey.
After Jack Dempsey?
Who Joe Louis won the championship from.
Jimmy Braddock. Wow. That's pretty cool. You're not going to see that anymore.
Okay, I give you this one.
Former heavyweight champs
I
referee.
think you were there.
Richard Steele was a boxer. He was.
Yeah, he was.
You
I
know
think
who-
Richard Steele was like a light heavyweight.
He was
though.
a light heavyweight. You know who his trainer manager was?
Who's that?
You know.
Jackie
Say it
McCoy?
again?
Jackie McCoy.
Jackie McCoy, yeah.
Well, he answered like 1/3 of this question.
Okay, I give you. That was a bad choice. That was too tough. So
I should have got that. Now
Okay.
that was good. I should have got it.
this one.
If I would have kept asking you questions.
Well, I didn't know the answer.
Yeah, I
So-
could have. But I should have guessed Philadelphia, and if
Yeah.
he did fight as a welterweight,
Yeah.
Gil Turner, I should have thought of
But
that.
there were like 50
But I know-
guys like that.
I know.
And they were all good, and they'd all beat everyone now.
Yeah. Oh my
And
God.
they were tough, you know.
Well, that's what folks don't understand when they ask me, like, do you rate so-and-so pound for, or not, do you rate so-and-so all-time great? I'm like, there's so many great fighters, and these folks who are asking me this question, and I wouldn't mind them asking me the question if they didn't get butthurt at my answer, but they get butthurt. They ask me a question, is so-and-so an all-time great? I say, no. They're like, how can you not have him as an all-time great? You're a hater. And I'm like, wait, man, this like all time is all time. You know how many great fighters there
That's
were?
pretty rare.
And these folks only know about the most popular champions,
Right.
right? They only know like the most popular Hall of Famers. I'm like, there's so many great fighters that are not in the Hall of Fame or that did not hold a world title.
Like Jimmy Carter. He held a title.
Nobody thinks about him.
No, that
And
was
if you show him the record, they'll
Yeah.
hate on him because he has losses. So you can't even argue
he
with
lost
these
on
people.
purpose.
I know, but they don't have a concept of that. They don't have a concept
He
of like,
lost on purpose, so he have to
you have
rematch.
another fight, you have a rematch, right? That was the only way you made money then, was to fight all the freaking time.
Okay.
And
That's where the
people,
majority-
and people at that time were not fixated on undefeated records. Wasn't that big of a deal?
Wasn't that the biggest revenue at that time? Was the ticket revenue?
Yeah.
You had to sell tickets in order.
You're
to,
talking
in order
about
to make
prior to the 60s, you had to put butts in the seats. That's
Right.
where you made your money.
Money. Right.
That's all there is to it.
All right, we're gonna wrap up soon here, Coach.
All right, one
What
more.
else, what else you got?
Okay, I
We
got one more. You were at this fight, I'm sure. June 22nd, 2002, Las Vegas. For the this guy wins the featherweight title. Unanimous 12-round decision.
Is that Barrera?
This is 2002? Yeah,
Barrera
Barrera
against-
Morales too.
Yeah.
You were probably there, huh?
Yeah.
Are you there?
I'm sure Kevin Kelly was scoping him out because
Yeah,
he was
he
still
was-
fighting and like,
he
I
was
want the
still
winner.
fighting, yeah. He
I
fought
was
both.
there. I
Kevin
thought maybe Morales won that one, or I think I had it for Barrera. I was a Barrera fan,
Yeah.
so I think you make an argument that Barrera won the first fight and Morales won the second fight, but the official decisions
Kevin
went the
fought
other
both
way.
of them. Fought both Barrera, Morales, Hamed. He fought all those guys.
I wonder if we done a best I faced with Kevin Kelly
No,
or
we need to do
greatest
that.
hits.
We should do that next time he comes. He's going to be in there for July 28th.
Yeah, I should interview him.
Come in. So we'll
Yeah.
sign off July 28th, Hollywood Fight Nights. Any other fights coming up? Amanda Nunez, I know at the UFC, she's fighting.
Well, okay, so
July
the
6th.
day before Hollywood Fight Nights is Maurice Hooker,
Right, Hooker
versus Jose Ramirez
Ramirez,
on the
that's
Zone.
Yep.
That's in Dallas, the Dallas area. So it's a home fight for Maurice Harris. That's a title unification bout.
That's a good fight.
Pits Ring Magazine's number 3 and number 4 contenders. So that's great. That's something to look forward to. I think there's boxing the night before as well.
That's Thompson.
On that
It's the night
Friday.
before
How about-
Well,
Friday.
Thompson, I'll be doing that with from Ontario with Beto
Ontario.
Duran.
How
Join
about
us,
July
please.
20th?
July 20th, of course, Manny Pacquiao and.
Oh, yeah, someone was
Pete
asking
Thurman.
who do you like between Pacquiao and Thurman?
I'm riding with Thurman.
You're going Thurman?
Yeah.
I'm praying for Pacquiao.
There you go.
You know,
Get
I
that on a
asked-
t-shirt.
I asked.
Pacquiao would appreciate that. He's religious.
I asked Abel yesterday, and he said Pacquiao.
I think Thurman is a slight betting favorite, but he won't be by the week of the fight. I
You
think
know
Pacquiao's
something?
going to be
You know,
the favorite.
Thurman should be a 10-to-1 favorite.
He should be, by all rights.
but if you put everything into it,
You know, he's kind of the poster boy for the modern fighter and the PBC fighter, in that he's just not active enough. He's being paid well. In his own mind, he's a superstar, and he's not.
Yeah, and he looks crappy in his last
And
fight.
he's not a dedicated fighter. Like, his mind is, you can tell it's elsewhere.
He's a businessman now.
Right, and yeah, I understand it. I can understand
But he
people
should
being
win
turned
easily.
off by that or thinking
It'd
that
be
it's
an
a
easy
concern.
fight for him.
Yeah.
Yep, Tom.
Safe 4th of July, everyone. I'll be back next week. We'll be in Austria and Germany this week.
All right,
So maybe
enjoy
I'll
it.
do a daily dialogue.
You should
from
do a
over there.
daily dialogue.
Yeah, I'll
Absolutely,
check it out.
people like that.
All right.
But yeah,
And
safe
then,
travels.
So we got those fights coming up. I mentioned Amanda Nunez. She's one of my favorite UFC fighters.
Is she
She's
fighting?
fighting Holly Holm.
Oh,
So that's a good fight. That's
Is that
July
this
6th. That's coming up this weekend.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, see,
yeah.
that's
Nunez has that for
that's
sure.
a,
But I'm rooting for Holly. I like Holly.
you have no chance.
I know.
I mean, that is like
I root for the underdogs,
that is-
especially in MMA,
Following UFC.
because
and
I don't
more-
actually watch it. So.
And Ngannou knocked out Junior Dos Santos last night.
Oh,
in the
did he?
first round,
Yeah,
so
he knocks
that
everybody
was a
out,
big
though,
one.
doesn't he?
Yeah, he's a big guy. So, all right, we'll see you July 28th. We'll have another broadcast before that, Avalon, Hollywood.
Yes.
Cynthia asked about any updates on Felipe Oropuda. Unfortunately,
He's
I don't.
doing better. I think he's been released from the hospital, or he's close to being released,
That's
and
good
he's
to know.
talking, and he's not out of it. So
Good to know.
yeah, I've heard positive things. So
Oropuda
pray
fought
for
on,
Oropuda.
against
Yeah, he fought
Estrada.
Juan Estrada, and he did well. He acquitted himself well.
We're gonna sign off.
Bye, folks.
Cynthia says yay.
Be
And,
happy.
we'll
Love
see you
everyone.
soon.